Sandy Rosenbush from ESPN. You said you didn't think the weather would necessarily be a factor, but are there any special considerations for Sam with his splint on his hand in this cold weather? I would think he couldn't wear a glove.
No, he wouldn't wear a glove anyway. So I don't think it's not like it's going to be zero. I don't think it's going to be that cold, and that's not a big deal. We operated all week out in the cold and wind and didn't have any troubles. So I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue.
Question on the right side.
Hey, Bob. Randy Kovitz, Kansas City Star. We haven't had a Big 12 game without you. You've been here for every one of them. Can you just
not everyone, but a few anyway.
Well, can you just talk about Kansas City and coming here and Arrowhead and just what?
Oh, I see what you mean. All the ones up here.
I mean the ones
Yeah,
here.
I see. Yeah.
Provincial here. Yeah.
I see. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Can you just kind of talk about the Kansas City?
Yeah, listen. I appreciate you asking it. I love Kansas City, not just because of the Big 12 championship, of course, but I think it's a great city. I've spent 7 years in Manhattan, Kansas, so would come here often and love it. I will say this too, because I think the Chiefs organization, from Carl Peterson all the way down, through ownership to Coach Herm Edwards, they are the best. I think they're classy, wonderful people. There could not be better hosts, and everything that they do is first class, and helping you and being there for you and putting on a great game. And we've had some exciting and great games here and atmospheres here. So. The only thing, again, that if anything I brought up was they can't control the weather. That isn't their fault. So that's my only, concern with ever, being here. But other than being with great people and associated with Kansas City and the Chiefs organization, playing in Arrowhead, couldn't be better. They're fabulous. So and first class in every way.
Your players really like playing?
Absolutely. The environment and the atmosphere, it's exciting.
Got a question on the aisle, left side.
Roger Rubin from the New York Daily News. You have a quarterback who is being considered very strongly for the Heisman Trophy. Can you describe anything that changed either in your system or in him in the last 12 months that has allowed him to elevate his game to the level that it's at right now?
I think just maturity and growth. I would say, though, a year ago, statistically, he was there with every other quarterback that they were talking about for the Heisman and set a freshman efficiency record in passing efficiency. So last year he was really good as well. This year he's just a little stronger, a little bigger, and obviously having the experience from a year ago is just a little more polished in his motion and in his reads. He's quicker getting the ball out. And I think overall we have stepped up with the no huddle and the way Coach Wilson, our offensive coordinator, Kevin Wilson, and Josh Heupel, our quarterback coach, and what we were asking him to do, we've put more on his plate and given him more, and he's handled it. And I think so there's increased production as well with the style and the way we're playing offensively.
Can I follow that up? How meaningful would it be for you to have one of your players win that award?
It's exciting, but it's an individual award. I think more than anything, the team would be proud of Sam, because I think it's always a reflection of the overall team and how those guys play. And I think as the players, that Sam's obviously one of the more popular guys. I mean, he's a great teammate. So I think the team would take great pride in seeing him, a guy that's so humble and quiet, to be in that kind of a position.
Got a question on the outside right.
Dave Sittler, Tulsa World. Bob, after seeing it in practice this week, how do you feel about your linebacker situation?
I feel good. We're obviously incredibly thin with all the injuries, but I do feel that we'll be in good shape. Mike Balogun has had a lot more work through the week. And then the equation of also using Nick Harris, in at Will Backer and moving Travis Lewis into Mike Backer has looked good as well, as we've gone through the week. So I feel that will be good overall. Again, barring injuries.
Is there any depth behind Balogun?
Travis Lewis. You just got to start working your pieces around.
Got a question on the left.
Yeah, Bob, going back to Randy's question about Kansas City, you've been here 4 times in Big 12 title games. Any certain moment or memory stick out in terms of the atmosphere or the fans or anything in your 4 previous trips here?
They're always exciting. Probably because it's the first time as a 2000 year and in playing Kansas State, the first time is probably always it's hard to, it's like anything. Your first time's always the best, maybe, and so I think of that one, probably more than any because it got things started and the situation we were in at the time.
Question on the aisle right side.
Coach, this Missouri defense has had some struggles at times this year. What do you see from them when you watch them on tape?
They're very consistent, though, in their discipline and how they play, their structure, and I appreciate that because you see them. They got a lot of good players, a veteran group, and and they make you work to beat them. They don't break down as far as busting alignments and assignments, those kind of things. So they're very disciplined in how they play and their structure, and very solid in how they do it. So they make you really execute to work the ball on them.
Got a question front left.
Bob, Gil Luberton with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. The way this game has come down over the years, the 2 teams with the best records have not usually met in this game. I know there's a rule that if you got 12 teams, you got to have divisions and all that. But do you think that the conference would be better served, the top teams in the conference would be better served if the teams with the 2 best records met for the championship?
Not if and then you'd have to get rid of the divisions, and so I don't see how that would work. And then the other part of that equation would be then you also have probably more of an opportunity to knock one of those teams out of a BCS bowl, which is awful lucrative for the conference to have 2 teams in a BCS bowl. So and then now you have all those issues. So altogether, I don't see how that that's. No one else does that. Other teams that don't have the championship game just, they have co-champs or tri-champs.
Got a question on the left wall.
Yeah, Bob, Randy Riggs, Austin. Obviously, it's a different team, a different year. But is there an advantage to having played in this game so many times in the past with your guys and just knowing what the experiences is about?
I think that's maybe just a small degree. I don't see that being a real big issue. In that, again, what you've done in the past really still doesn't matter. They're all different teams, different situation. So you've got to go do it again, and maybe to a small degree, but overall, I still think it's. I don't think it's a big difference.
Got a question on the aisle, and then we'll move over there.
Again, Roger Rubin from the New York Daily News. You've been asked during this past week to compare your team's body of work with Texas's body of work. Do questions like that bother you? Does it bother you the possibility that you may be asked them until the last minute of your season?
I guess, I wouldn't be answering fairly if I'd say to some degree it does. But again, I just wonder why Texas Tech's win over head-to-head to Texas has not been mentioned, or mentioned very, so slightly. I mean, why is Texas Tech not in the conversation, I would ask you?
If they were in the conversation too.
They should be. I mean, they head-to-head have beat Texas, so in the end, it's really not that difficult. Texas Tech deserves, they have identical record as us in Texas, 7-1 in the league and 11-1 overall. And if head-to-head is your reasoning, then head-to-head Texas Tech beat Texas. So
the only thing that bothers you is that Texas Tech is being left out of the conversation.
Yeah, and that for some reason that they have not been a part of the issue when they are a part of the issue. And we all agree that whatever rules were put in place before the year, and you go play.
But it's not about defending your team's body of work.
Well, our body of work, I think, is speaking. No one else. You look at the four ranked teams that we've beaten, and I don't think anyone else, if we're able to win tomorrow, is beaten 5. So that's where Joe Castiglione and I are very aware when we schedule that matters. And there's a lot of other teams I would rather have played this year early in the year than Cincinnati and TCU. And not real excited to go to Miami next year to play Miami in the Orange Bowl or in Dolphin Stadium. So those kind of issues are factors, and they're good for college football. Those early games, they're exciting for you guys to go write about and follow. They're exciting to fans, and they're challenging to our program, and they do enter into the equation. Or again, you guys at least early in the year act like they should, and then late in the year seem to forget about it. So same thing. Same thing with if Texas Tech isn't part of the issue, you're going to disadvantage them because of how bad we beat them, but not advantage us for doing so. So again, it's just what you just choose to emphasize.
Question on the left side aisle.
Coach Jason Anderson, Sports Radio 810. A lot of the talk around this game nationally and honestly locally here is that Missouri doesn't stand much of a shot in this game against Oklahoma. Does that start to creep in? Can that creep into a player's mind?
I would think not when you watch them play as much as we have all week and how well they play and again, the quality of players that they have. We've got great respect for Missouri and as a team, we're the ones that have to go play and try and win. So we recognize the challenge of it because we studied them all week and through the year and have seen how well they play.
Question on the front right. Just a moment.
Along those same lines, because I know in the past you have at least mentioned other games of OU history. Do you bring up Kansas State, the year they beat you 35-7 here when you were the overwhelming favorite?
No, we've talked about it as a team, that of that situation in the past, a little history lesson that's 2003. That's what happened.